All right, check. I'm about to dive in on Wu Wednesday about just the Wu Tang in general, and also and how incredible their show's been lately. You know, because this last episode really kind of made me want to do a video on what I've been seeing so far with the show, and just talk about the Wu Tang in general. You know, because this is my favorite group. Of all time. There's like a lot of great rap groups in the game right now, and from Outkast, Mobb Deep, The Locks, NWA. There's all types of all types of groups. From UGK. Those are some of my favorites. But I think Wu Tang is in a class by itself. As far as you'll never see another group like the Wu Tang ever in your life. I guarantee it. Just how the game right now, the hip hop game, and how they do contracts and how they do record deals, you'll never in just skill level in general, like you'll never see nine guys that are all nice lyrically on the mic, and a producer that's just one of the great producers of all time. Just come together and make albums and projects, and just doing joint projects and working together, and just having their own label and having their own record deals. You'll never see that again. The game isn't built for that type of infrastructure of a rap group anymore. You'll never see anything even remotely close to anything like that. So we should, for a second, just appreciate just Wu Tang as a group and what they brought to the game, and what you'll probably never see again. So if there's ever a show in your town, or you want to see them perform, man, you get in there while you can, because they getting up there. So you want to get, if you want to ever see all of them perform together, you want to do it pretty soon. But anyway, that was just my the intro on it. But still, I was just kind of blown away by this last episode on the Wu Tang American Saga, in regards to the Jizza, and how his album, and how they did an allegorical movie about his thought process and the concept behind his first solo album, Liquid Swords. And I watched all the episodes up to this point. I watch every episode because I'm such a Wu fan, and that's just my group. And all over in this season in particular, they've been taking it kind of to another level as far as the movies, and kind of getting more into the backstory of some of the I guess you would call the members that didn't get as much shine as the others, even though they're just as nice, including like Inspector Deck, You God, Master Killer. All of them are nicer than most rappers, regardless. Even though within the group they didn't get as much shine as some of the others. But you got more information about them. You got an allegorical movie on ODB, and how he was influenced by blaxploitation movies and just the 70s and everything like that, and how he may help make the concept for his album, Return to the 36 Chambers, which is also an incredible album. And just a completely unorthodox yet clever and lyrical album. If you really sit down and listen to it, it's just amazing. By ODB, rest in peace to him, and his incredible way of approaching the rap game. You'll never see another talent like that ever again. You might see a lot of imitations, but you'll never see nobody with that type of charisma, that type of that rhyme pattern, and that type of just unpredictability. You'll never see that. You probably never see that again. And then we did another one for Raekwon and Ghostface, for Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links. And that in itself is one of the best hip hop albums of all time. And they did a movie about criminology, which is that movie, because the album is based on criminology, is more mafioso. The New York mafioso, it kind of birthed New York mafioso rap, or put it in the forefront. I guess I wouldn't say it was birthed, because Cool G Rap, kind of one of the godfathers of mafioso rap, and it just Raekwon and Ghostface kind of just put it with that Wu sound. It just made it, just took it to a whole nother level. So so it was just an incredible album. There's also an incredible allegorical movie based on just the thought process of that album and how they were, feeling in the game in general at that time, because if you notice, these albums, this was based on, how New York was and who the rappers were. Like, as you said, when you seen them visiting, like, the interpretations of Nas, Fat Joe, Big L in Harlem, and then they went to go see Frank White, which was big, so they were kind of semi beefing with him when they were talking about him in the intro about having the same album cover as Nas, or similar, because at that time, it was kind of frowned upon to be biting somebody, especially in New York. What I'm saying? You guys in the same city, you guys shouldn't be doing the same thing. As being original was like a big deal, and kind of making it in the rap game out at that time. So they kind of touched on all those points, touched on how all the people that were involved with the album, most of the clan members are involved in the album. The RZA's production on it, and Ghostface being just a heavy influence and a part of that album, even though it was technically Raekwon's solo album, but Ghostface was a big part of it. That made it kind of incredible. What I'm saying? So it was just a dope kind of interpolation of that project. So then now, we get to probably, in my opinion, the best episode of the three is the episode about the Liquid Swords and the GZA's album, and what his thought process was behind that album was. And I want to kind of really touch on this because this is one of my favorite albums of all time, along with Cuban Links. I would say both of them are in my top 10, and they're interchangeable as far as just depending on how I'm feeling that day, or I could pick one or the other easily, what I'm saying, along with 36 Chambers, as my favorite Wu albums, and even to Cal, that doesn't get talked, like the first Method Man doesn't get talked about enough as one of the great Wu albums, but that's just you need to just pick it up and listen to that first Method, because it was on some other shit. It was just a different, on some dark. It was somewhat dark, but it was just, but because his flow was so water, it was just like, it's just such a hype album at the same time, and he had hits on it at the same time. It was just such a cool album. Just it just, you just have to listen to it and understand it. But back to the Liquid Swords, in the movie, it was just incredible how they kind of put it all together. So if you watch it from this episode from start to finish and really pay attention to it, you can see all the jewels, about, the whole thought process behind the album. Like, even in the very beginning when he was talking to Divine about the album, how he needed to have like everybody on the album. It was just very important for him to have everybody on his first album, because he didn't think that they was going to ever be able to do that again, because they were at the height of their careers. Like, this is when 36 Chambers was taking off. ODB was getting on with 36, Return to the 36 Chambers. Cuban Links came out, so everybody, and then Method Man was out with with Def Jam and Takal, and so everybody was kind of doing their own things, trying to get their own solo deals going, and so the clock was ticking as far as getting everybody together. Lives is changing. So with all the success and the fame, so he's like, yo, and he understood that the clock is ticking on me to have the album that I want, which is to have the entire Wu-Tang clan participating in my album as in some way, shape, or form, so I can have that authentic Wu sound to the fullest. So he was, and I just thought that was crazy how they pointed that out in the beginning, and then they went into the movie, in his mind, in his alternate universe, and then they pretty much made like a pretty much like a samurai. That was a samurai kind of pseudo, like rural Japan / New York type of an atmosphere and environment, to where pretty much GZA, or the genius, was pretty much wandering the land from place to place, pretty much, and lifting up his brothers and getting them to support him on his project and being a part of it, and understanding how important it was for them to all be together on one more project at the very least. Just to have that pure sound. He wanted it to sound as pure Wu sound as possible. because even RZA's sound was as a producer was changing. So he didn't, but he wanted to capture that last authentic Wu sound, that the sound that they came in the game with. He wanted that whole sound, that whole atmosphere, that whole thought, that whole 36 chambers like feel to this album. He wanted to maintain that and enhance that and take that to another level for him. So for his project, but just having them together on it, he just know it was gonna be strong. Whenever they're together, whenever you ever see them in a concert, when you see all 9 of them together, when you ever see all 9 of them heavily participating in any of the projects, it's there's nothing you can do, nothing you can say. It's just classic material. So he wanted that. So he started traveling, and the first place he went to was to see Chief Iref, which is Master Killer, who's one of the best lyricists in the group. He has his flow is kind of he has a real monotone flow, but his lyrics are more are just knowledge to self, and have and a lot of philosophical thought, and 5% type of thought, because he's heavy on that, and at the same time it's real lyrical, real Brooklyn sound to it. So it's like he's just another element of just the 9 members, and how he, and it's cool how he brought him into it first, saying because him and Jizza are pretty close, from what I've researched over the years in my life as a Wu fan, and he brought him in, and because he knew he was going to be able to get him on board off top, because he knew that was his brother, he knew they came in together. He brought him in to the into the group, because they're both from Brooklyn. So he knew he was gonna get his support, one way or another. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a good brother. So he brought him in right off the bat, and then the next person they brought in was probably my favorite member of the group. Is Inspector Deck, and he was a Manifesto, and he's one of the, he was pretty much the Lord of the Underground. Because he's like, because Inspector Deck, when you really think about it, if you look at his career over the years, that he's one of the he's the underground. They say he was the underground king, and technically he is when you look at his catalog, because he's, he has a lot of underground hits. He did Sarface, he did a lot of his. He did Uncontrolled Substance, was an underrated album. If he had a RZA album, I bet it'll be up there with one of the. I guarantee it'll be up there as one of the best Wu albums ever, because he has some of the best verses on all the Clan albums. Even on all the Clan features, he's one of the standout features on every Wu-Tang album. So he's easily one of the better lyricists of all time, in my opinion. So but you have to actually dig into the crates to kind of get a lot of his good work. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, just Uncontrolled Substance, and the Czarface projects, his other albums, Resident Patient, some of his mixtapes, they're dope. He has a mixtape called Manifesto as well, and his newest one, Chamber Number 9, is dope as well. So you gotta just, and he just, all his music is dope. You just gotta, it's just not put out there in the mainstream. It's just it's really he's really an underground king, and a lot of rappers in the game respect his bars, and he has one of the best verses on Triumph. One of the great hip hop verses of all time. So you gotta respect that. So they had to get him. They got him on board. Got him right, and got him pretty much with them on the path, and then they got to get went out and try to get the fatherless child, which is ODB, and they went to his section, went to his chamber, in a sense, because this is just a kind of a metaphor of him going to each chamber to get each clan member out of the chamber, and to participate and to become one. So he goes to Master Killer's chamber, he goes to Inspector Deck's chamber, and now he's going to ODB's chamber. And ODB's chamber is interesting because ODB is pretty much making hits now. He got on with this is after episode where Divine got him to do the Mariah record, and the Mariah record is a hit. Because the fantasy record, and that's a hit. That was a hit. back then. So he's on now. So he's on. He's mainstream. He's essentially falling into that mainstream trap. So and then they all fall in that trap for a second. They all get caught up by these women, and then they got to get taken to the the syndicate or the militia or whatever it was called. But that's essentially a metaphor for like pretty much the record execs, the labels, saying basically trying to get them to say, you guys need to just cross over, become mainstream, and come and kind of do things how we want you to do it. Make the records we want you to make the radio friendly records that are gonna be hits, that are gonna make us a lot of money. Not necessarily, but you got to kind of sell your soul to do that. And they were captured, and then they were trying to talk to Jizza about that, saying that I can make you guys be a part of me, part of this record, like be a part of this. You guys need to cross over, be with us, and then we'll take it, and you'll get whatever you want. You get all the women, the cars, whatever. And then Jizza was like, no, I'm not doing all that. And then he goes to then he clicks over and said, but your friend is wants to do that. And then he clicks over the fatherless child, which is ODB. So he's like, oh, so he's like, oh, well, he's getting caught up in that. So he had to, so he said, you know what? And then he turned on one of the coldest records on his album. And then they started getting into some of the album cuts on the 36 chamber, on the not the 36 chamber, but the Liquid Swords, and probably one of the hardest cuts is Duel and Iron Mike, which is also like used a lot of times, man. Whenever any Wu concert I've ever been to, man, that always one of the first records that come on because it slaps. Like when that plays through the speakers and the bass hits, the drums, the hi hats, everything. It's just it's just everything about that beat is cold, and just the lyrics are cold, and then it is how Jizza just sets it off. Just an incredible record, and if you know, you know, but. They just set it off with that, and they kind of did a video. That song was due for a video. Like I wish there was an actual video done back in the day for that record. It deserved one, and that's like the closest you're gonna get to a video for that record. And I was just like, that's when I was like, I'm done right now. This is gonna be the dopest episode. Clearly, like just off of this, just at this point of the show, this is gonna be the dopest episode. So they do the record, and then they pretty much repel all that, basically all the noise from the labels, for the record labels, and then they just push them off, and then they was able to, and ODB is a part of that record too. If you don't know, because he sings the chorus, he sings the Duel of the Iron Mike, and he does all that, and he just, and that's just another part. He's a part of the album. A lot of people though, they go, oh, where's the ODB at? He's on that song, and that's his contribution to the song. So, in a contribution to the record, and that was it. That's enough. What I'm saying? Just having his voice on there for that song, he's there. What I'm saying? And that kind of released him from the clutches of the label, of the industry, at that time. And then he was able to pretty much open his chamber up because once he gets everybody on board, then they open their chamber up and they start slowly coming together. So now they move on to get the other members from pretty much from out of the chamber, and they also got to get but ultimately at the end they got to get the RZA on board because he's the one that pretty much is going to help tie everything together because he's the abbot, he's the main heart. He's somewhat, he's not the, I wouldn't say he's the heart. I would say ODB was more so the heart of the group. But he was definitely the arms, and he was definitely the mind behind it. He was he's one part of the head. What I'm saying? Yeah, everybody says Jizza's the head of the group. RZA's just RZA is probably the mind. I would say he's the other half. I think it's split into two. I think it's RZA's the head and Jizza's the other half of the head. They're both pretty much integral parts of the group. But I would say RZA because he's the producer / rapper. But he's just so integral to the group. He's the eyes. I would say he's the eyes to the other group. He's the one that has the vision, and he's the one that creates the vision for the group, for the most part. And and they got to get to him at the end, but then they're trying to get everybody together. And now they got ODB, they got Inspector Deck, they got Master Killer on the records, and then they get to another part of the environment of the land, and then you get these two gangs beefing with them, and they're just like, okay, we're beefing with you, and we're beefing, and you're in our territory, and we're fighting for this territory. We're fighting for pretty much a record deal, and then I guess he's wanted by the labels. So they're basically saying if you get him, then we'll give you a deal, and that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants a rap deal, and they'll do anything for it. You know what I'm saying? And then they'll do anything just to be it on. And then he does. Then Jizza goes into one of his best songs on the CD, Labels, when he's talking about just all the how the record labels are jerking you. Industry rule on 4080 record labels are mad shady. He basically makes a whole song about every record label, and pretty much uses their record label as a part of his rhyme. Which is, just like I said, another one of the more incredible songs on the record and ever. You know what I'm saying? Just about the rap game in general, and it's real shit. Everybody, these record labels don't be thinking about you, and everybody sees that now. These record labels are all about the money, and they'll use you to get whatever money they want to get out of you, and then when they're done with you, then that's it. So, and he basically made and this was back in 90, 95, 96, 97 when this came out. 98, I mean, back then, and now we're in 2023, and it's even worse now. You know what I'm saying? They was talking about it then, that these record labels are gonna, if you don't control your craft, you're gonna get jerked. You know what I'm saying? He made a whole song about it, and he busted into that. That was incredible. And then he told him, you guys, you guys got your guns, your bars, pretty much your guns or your lyrics. You know what I'm saying? You gotta use them right. You'll be able to succeed if you use your guns right and you use it for the right cause. And that's basically the message behind that whole scene, was that you got to use your pretty much your talent for the right things. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to use it for somebody else's benefit. So I thought that was just a crazy concept to add into it, and throw that and to kind of pretty much crystallize the whole thought process behind Labels, the song itself. So they get past that part, and then they get to a point where they're running out of time, and they keep switching. And also, as they're going to each chamber, they keep switching back to You God, who is in the studio with the woman that plays Ghostface's significant other in the series, in the real life, outside of the environment, and kind of in the real life setting of the series. But she's playing like a lyricist, just rapping on the radio, just some of the different rhymes that are coming out the album, like on Hell's Wind Staff, and all the different quotable rhymes that are on the album. And You God is kind of like, he's pretty much doing the investigative reports, because he's on that song on the album, and he's kind of like keeping track and trying to tie everything together to make sure the message gets out to every section of get their radio message out to every section of the land, so everybody can hear it. Because everybody's pretty much their signal is closed off to the message from that record, from that radio station that's trying to put out the message, put out the woo sound. Nobody's trying to hear that right now. Everybody's trying to hear the mainstream stuff, so they're trying to pretty much bring everybody together and bring everybody out of that shell to listen to the woo sound. And You God is kind of putting it all together, and he's kind of helping orchestrate all the sounds. And once all the connections are made, he's putting the sound out, putting the sound out. And he, like I said, he's on investigative reports on that song, so he's another part of the project. So they tied him into it as they should, because he's also a great rapper, in his own rights. Saying the Golden Arm Redemption is a dope album, and he got some other projects. He got Dopium, and the keynote speaker album that I thought was dope. And I always followed You God. He's always been a solid rapper to me, and he has memorable quotes and mystery chess boxing. He got all types of gems that people don't pay attention to. Because he's one of the because he's not has one of the not one of the mainstream members. You know what I'm saying? You got to just go. You got to do your research and check in on him and see how dope he is. So props to You God for being one of the great rappers. But anyway, we get on to You God, and then they get to a point where they're like, when they're talking, You God saying like, "Yo, we don't got enough time to get to everybody. We can't do like everybody. We can't get to everybody. We're running out of time." So they had to split up and go to different directions to get the rest of the members. Like Master Killer had to go and link up with Ghostface Killer and get to his land, and he's on Fourth Chamber, and I think he's on another song. I think he's on Investigative Reports as well. So he's on two songs. So he's on Fourth Chamber, and they did his verse on Fourth Chamber, which is dope because how he just starts out. That beat's hard too. That's another beat that I don't hear too much of the show. I heard once at the show, but it still is a hard beat. Like this album has all the raw, some of the rawest RZA beats. That's why it's one of my favorite. And so that was just a dope verse. And then Inspector Deck Manifesto, he goes to Method Man's land and gets him on board, gets his chamber opened up, and Manifesto and Method Man is dope. You know what I'm saying? And he just like I said, I was talking about Tikal and how slept on of a classic album that is. When you compare all the great Wu albums, between Tikal, Only Built for Cuban Links, Liquid Swords, Supreme Clientele, those are like the great Wu solos. Return to the 36 Chambers. I'll even throw Uncontrolled Substance in that mix. As one of the greats, because even despite the fact that he didn't get all RZA production, it was still a well put together album. So don't get it twisted. Just because it didn't have RZA on it, it wasn't a great album. Just go back and pay attention and listen to it, and listen to that compared to all the other stuff y'all hearing, and then y'all didn't come talk to me. But anyway, he got Method Man on there. He did his verse on Shadowboxing, which is a dope song. Probably one of the best beats on the album, in my opinion. It just slaps. So they got him to do his verse, and it's cool that Dave East got to do his verse because Dave East is Dave East. He's one of the doper New York MCs. So props to him for being a part of the show to do his thing, and then they got him to do his verse, and then Jizza, he had to go to see Raekwon. And I thought that was another interesting scene because I think this happened in real life. I don't know if it's don't quote me on it, but I'm assuming it did. I think something personal happened to him in his life, so he he might have been a little bit hard to reach at the time. So Jizza went out to speak to him and talk to him about being a part of the open up his chamber, saying being coming one with us, even though I know you're going through some things, but man, I need you for this project type thing because it won't be right without you. So I think that was just kind of more of a metaphor of him going through some things at that time in real life, and he really kind of went out his way to kind of be a part of the album during that time. He got a dope verse from him too on Investigative Reports because I think he was the first verse on there, so he murdered it. He was a tough act to follow, and Raekwon is one of the sharpest lyricists there is. Just from a mafioso standpoint, and then just has that charisma, just has that energy that nobody that's unmatched. To a lot of people, just in real life, just even he's just one of those people that he just sounds how he raps. You know what I'm saying? Like way he talks is that's just how he rap. That's just how he raps as well. So he's just dope. So he was a part of the project, and he got on board. And then the last scene was there was someone that was pushing on a wheelchair the whole time. There was traveling from place to place, and they were pushing him, and he had to go all the way up to the top of the mountain to talk to RZA, and then he had to give him the and I guess the in the signal he was trying to get us. There was a certain signal that would unite everyone, and the signal was kind of the tune to the fourth chamber, the beat to the fourth chamber. So that was the tune, and the RZA was at a place right now, at that time where he was trying to change his sound. He was trying to deviate away from the Wu sound a little bit, trying to enhance it in a sense, because that's as a producer myself, understand where he's coming from. You don't want to always be doing the same thing over and over. You always want to evolve as a producer. So he was just kind of in that zone where like he was taking time away because he was trying to evolve as a producer, as a musician, as a composer. You know what I'm saying? So he was kind of in that zone to where he wasn't really as focused on GZA's album as he should have been at that time, or as he could have been. So it took a little bit of pushing to kind of get him to really kind of recapture that old Wu sound, the sound that got him the respect and the notoriety that they received. So he went up to the mountain, and then he kind of got him on board, and then he used his flute and he played that tune, and then he said, oh yeah, that's it right there. And he's also on that song on the fourth chamber. So he got on board with that, got on the literal boards, because they had like a little studio set up on top of the mountain, which is kind of dope. He got on that, and then he kind of pretty much turned that flute tune into just the beat to the fourth chamber, and then Ghostface started rapping his verse. Then the RZA again went down, and he rapped his verse, and then it just all came together. Then everybody's chambers just kind of locked in, and it just made one, and then that just kind of just reunited everybody and brought everybody in the world together to kind of listen to this one one album, this one project, with all the Wu-Tang being a part of it, but it was GZA's solo album, but it was GZA's solo album, but it kind of tied in as a Wu-Tang album. It was like it could have passed as a Wu-Tang album, like a Clan album officially, but it was GZA's album because he was on every song. But it was his album, so he got what he wanted out of it. At the end of it, he got the sound he wanted. He got the participation he needed, and he himself, murdered the album, on every level. I thought it was just incredible how they tied that all in together, and how I got to see like an allegorical of his album, and because it's one of my favorites of all time. So I just wanted to kind of break it down real quick. I just thought, I wanted to let that out because because all that information just kind of was hitting me as I was watching it, and I was understanding it, because I've been following the Wu for all my life, and I just in reading and just listening, and I just understand, and I just have so much of understanding to it that it just all kind of like just watching everything unfold, and it was just like, man, it's just like crazy to watch it, as a movie. So, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of dive into that real quick and show y'all how much I love the Wu-Tang. I got my Wu-Tang hoodie on right now, so I'm in I'm just feeling wooed out right now, and I'm probably gonna go after this. I'm probably gonna turn it on and watch the episode again, because it was so dope. But yeah, I just wanted to tap into that real quick, man. I hope y'all enjoyed my interpolation of that, and I hope you guys watch that. I hope you guys go back and listen to some albums, read a book about them, and understand how deep it is, how deep of a group that is, and how there'll never be another group like them. So shout out to the RZA, the GZA, the Old Dirty Bastard, Inspector Deck, You God the Chef, Ghostface Killer, and just Method Man, everybody, everybody that's a part of the Wu-Tang. Capadonna coming in as the newest ninth member. You gotta respect the swordsman, man. I just peace. That's all I can say, man. You guys are the greats, and I wish you guys all the best and everything you guys do musically, and I hope to always to attain that level of excellence in my music. You guys are always be an inspiration for me. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna let y'all rock with that, and you guys have a great night. Hope you guys enjoy that episode like I did, and just enjoy it, man. Peace out.